Welcome to the Guided Podcast, where we support you to find the courage to listen and act. I'm Amanda Goolsby, and with me is
Allie Katz.
Let's get started.
The reason why I'm at 100% right now is because I made a commitment to myself that I would only serve from overflow, and that never again would I serve from depletion. That I would every day wake up and I would fill my own cup. And if I felt my cup getting empty, I would take a break and go refill my cup and then pour that water on my roots. And because I've done that every single day since I landed on the playa at Burning Man, every single day, not a little bit, sometimes multiple hours of self-care to make sure that my cup was overflowing. Because one thing that I know to be true is that when it comes to feminine leadership, us as women, as feminine beings, we are created to only serve from overflow. That's how our vessels are made. The men, they're meant to serve until they're empty, and then come back to us to get filled back up.
That's such a beautiful frame, Amanda. That is an incredibly beautiful frame. Well, let's dive into that. Welcome back, everyone. This is Allie Katz, and I'm here with Amanda Goolsby, who is fresh, literally fresh off the playa. Even though today is September 8th, most people left the playa, a week ago? On September 1st?
Yes, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It was like a slow exodus it was a fast exodus of people being like, oh shit, like I've got to get out of here. People literally walked for 4 hours and left their RVs and found other people to drive them so that they could get off the playa because of how torrential the rain was.
Yeah.
It was a natural disaster.
It was a natural disaster. A national disaster.
It was a national disaster, and the earth is speaking to us. Last year was my first year at Burning Man, and people said to me, this was the most intense year of weather that we've ever had. It was the hottest it's ever been, and the dust storms were the worst it's ever had. And I know why. Because the fire comes and the air comes when people don't feel their anger, because the air is our lungs, and the fire is that heat, that anger. And so when we're not feeling our fucking anger, the earth has to feel it for the 8 billion of us that are on this planet. And this year, it's the sadness and the grief. And when we, as 8 billion people, don't feel our own sadness and our own grief, our mother has to feel it for us. And that comes through the rain. And so, yeah, it rained. And I stood in it. I walked in it. I sat there and cried in it.
And then you stayed. And you helped to leave no trace, and you helped to clean up. And we're going to talk about that today. But first, I want to go back to what you just said about feeling the rage and the fires and feeling the grief and the rains. And, we haven't been modeled how to actually feel our feelings.
Yeah.
And so it makes sense that 8 billion people were not feeling our feelings because we don't know how to feel our feelings in a healthy way.
Yeah.
And so what do we do about that? How do we begin to make the shift so that we can feel our feelings in a healthy way, so that we can feel our rage safely, so that we can feel our grief?
Yeah.
Any ideas?
Yeah. I'm a Pisces, for those of you that don't know. And I feel everything.
You do.
I feel literally, I'm so sensitive. And the more deep work I do, the more sensitive I become. And it's, how do you feel your feelings if someone is just, just beginning? Because I wasn't always this emotionally intelligent. And when we say emotional intelligence, to me, what that means is the ability to be aware of what your current emotional experience is.
Mhm.
And then once you have awareness of like, oh, I'm feeling sad. Okay, I feel sadness. Then
Mm.
where in my body do I physically, somatically, where in my body do I feel the sadness? And then put your hand there. Oh, I feel the sadness on my heart. And you might not be expressing tears yet because you haven't learned that it's safe because of all of the programming for everyone that if you cry, for men, if you cry, you're a pussy. And for women, if you express rage, then you're a bitch. Well, guess what? I am a bitch sometimes. And the
Yeah.
world needs my bitch sometimes. And the
Yeah.
world needs the heart and the sadness sometimes. And the key that I would say is like just from a process perspective, as someone is just learning this, and
Mhm.
it's like 101, it's like slow down, take a deep breath.
Mhm.
Put your hand on your chest and put your hand on your belly. And then actually just pause and ask yourself,
Mm.
if I knew what I was feeling,
Mm.
what would I be feeling right now?
Mhm.
And then first just track with your awareness where in your body you sense your energy going. For me, it was right to my solar plexus.
Mhm.
So then I shift and I put both my hands on my solar plexus. And I just pause for a second and I just listen. I ask it, like, what do you have for me? Like, what are you trying to say?
Mm.
Uh,
Mm.
you might notice that I'm making a lot of sound. And the reason is because sound is one of the ways that we move energy. And, in the study of Tantra, breath and sound are two of the core tenets of Tantra, which is life force flowing through us. And life cannot flow through us if we aren't an open vessel. And when there is contraction in our field or in our energy or contraction in our body due to the fact that we're not feeling something, life cannot flow through us.
Mhm.
And so it builds and it builds and it builds until one day you explode like a freaking volcano on someone that you love.
Mhm. Mhm.
And so that's how, if someone was just starting, that little bit practice is where I would have someone begin, and ideally with someone else's awareness. And what I mean by that is having someone that you trust that's able to just hold space while you process. And ideally, they're going to not only just hold space, but they're actually going to keep their awareness approximately 12 to 18 inches away from your body. So like if I was doing this with Allie,
Mhm.
I would say, okay, Allie, I'm with you. Like I'm here. I'm with you.
Mhm.
And then I would put my awareness, my consciousness in the emotional level of her energy field, the body, her subtle energy field. And I'd put my awareness there. And then I'd say, okay, Allie, now put your hand on your body, on your chest and on your stomach
Mhm.
and notice what you're feeling. Where in your body do you feel sensation? And so
Yeah.
that's a practice.
And it is really something that we can do with each other when we know how. And I think we'll do a whole episode actually on how do we help each other to somatically process our feelings? Because this is one of the reasons that talk therapy is just such BS and doesn't actually help people, right? Is like, it just keeps everything up in our head. And it's so often actually just repeating the same patterns again and again, getting us stuck in these like mental loops. And we need to bring it into our bodies and move it through our bodies. That's actually what our bodies are for. I believe it's what we incarnated for in these bodies, is to actually feel these feelings. And so you are really a master at feeling all of these feelings. And so, Burning Man, you made the decision to go the night before you went.
No. I was guided to go.
You were guided to go. Tell us more about that.
I've made a commitment in my life to not just say I have a podcast called Guided, but to actually live my life guided.
Yeah.
And to create my life in such a way that I can live my life guided. And what I mean by that is setting up the structures and the ways that I work in the world and the ways that I relate to the world so that I can be guided by spirit. And if that means that I get called to go to Burning Man literally less than 24 hours before, that I will listen. And if it's within my human capacity to do what I'm being guided to do, that I'll do it. I'll go where I'm told, I'll stay as long as I'm told, and I'll leave when I'm told. And I made that commitment some years ago. I made that commitment to spirit.
Which requires you to feel your feelings, because what I gather is that the guidance is coming through the feeling.
Say that one more time.
The guidance is coming through the feeling. Like if you look back
No. Yeah, it's coming through the fact that I'm an open channel. And you can only be an open channel to receive guidance if your channel is open, but your channel can't be open if you don't feel your feelings. Because there's contraction. There's contraction in the system.
Well, and contraction, if you are feeling contraction, which might be like holding your breath, feeling tight in a specific spot, that's actually a pathway as well to notice, oh, I'm feeling contraction. I feel pain in my shoulders or in my back or in my solar plexus, or I feel tight in my throat or in my chest. These feelings, these sensations are pointing to something that gets to be moved, an energy that gets to be moved rather than stay stuck and contracted.
That's right.
So let's go back to about 2 weeks ago.
Yep. Saturday at 5 p.m. I'm at your house, and the guidance had started coming in starting on Wednesday. Wednesday, I got clear. We talked about this on the episode. So if you listened to 2 weeks ago, or I guess I don't know the order, but you listened to the episode where we talked about me going to Burning Man. I met a woman on the street. As soon as she told me that she had free tickets, I had every cell in my body lit up, and I knew that there was something there for me. The amount of energy I felt in my body, I felt somatically in my body. I felt energy all throughout. It was like someone had plugged me into a freaking Christmas tree. And I was like, whoa, okay, I am listening. This is the thing that I say more than anything. I say I'm listening, I don't know, probably 100 times a day.
Like in your mind or out loud?
Both. Sometimes I just walk around with my palms facing up and say, I'm listening. I'm listening. I'm listening.
Yeah,
I'll
that's
walk for
my version
hour.
of show me the way, show me the way, show me the way.
And so on Wednesday, I had that hit. Thursday, I was like, this isn't happening. Friday, I started to like come to surrender. Like I tried to resist the guidance at first, and then I surrendered into it. And what I actually did was on Friday night, I said, okay, spirit. I was like, okay, God, I'm going to go to sleep tonight. And if you really, really, really want me to be at Burning Man, then make sure that in my dreams tonight, it is evidently clear. Like in my dreams tonight, in my dream state tonight, make it so clear to me, and then I'll go. And and mind you, I don't have a deep like dream practice. As a matter of fact, I've been deepening in my REM state and like getting a little bit more dream sleep, but I'm not like some, a big dreamer, but I've been tuning into a bit more of my dream world in the last 6 months, I would say, of just having more awareness around when I wake up, like, that was weird. Like, why was there a snake in my dream? And then I'll like look it up and just type in snake and see what it says. Oh, it's about shedding skin and transformation. And so I said that to spirit when I went to bed on Friday night. I'm like, hey God, I'm here. I'm listening. And if I'm meant to be there, please make it evidently clear. And I am not joking. In my dream, it was like someone stood in front of me, I think, in my dream and said, you are supposed to be at Burning Man.
Wow. Well, can't get more clear than that, huh?
And, I'm cleaning playa dust out from under my fingernails while we talk. And
that's a good idea.
More like playa mud.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that was the.
So you're supposed to be at Burning Man. So that's Friday. That's that's sleep,
Saturday. Friday night to Saturday.
Friday night.
So then I speak to my friend Jules on Saturday morning, and ultimately it all unfolded within the next 8 hours. From there, I made my final decision. Like, I still had to process some human stuff on Saturday, even though I got that clear message. Like, logistically, I was feeling a little bit overwhelmed. I hadn't planned to leave. So I had clients, I had calls, I had things scheduled on my calendar. I had stuff that I had previously committed to, and I didn't feel good just like jumping without knowing that all of that was handled. And so I needed to spend the day really looking at my week and saying, okay, what can I move? What can I reschedule? Can I make some calls today? And when I got to the place where I felt in integrity with following the guidance within my 3D reality, because like I could play the 5D guidance game all day long, but if it impacts people in 3D, it's not very fair.
How do you hold that balance? Like, how do you hold that balance between listening to the 5D guidance and also honoring the impact on people in the 3D, this reality?
Well, for one is I communicate with them. I communicate with people really, really, really clearly and upfront. And I share with them exactly what's happening in my experience so that they're not thinking that I'm dropping them, but rather I only want to interact with people who understand the path that I've chosen.
So that we talked a little bit about that as well on the episode where we talked about integrity and what to do when you change your mind, and how do you communicate that as clearly as you possibly can, as soon as you know, and then be prepared to hear about the impact. And by the way, hearing about the impact may change the guidance that you received.
Well, it may not change the guidance you received, but it may have your human make a different decision because of the impact it's going to have on the 3D, on your 3D material reality.
Right. And you need to be able to be with the impact that your choices have on others. It's one of the greatest lessons and one of the greatest gifts that we can learn as humans. It's actually at the core of narcissism is the inability to be with the impact of our choices on others. And so we deflect and do all sorts of things to protect ourselves from that impact. And so we can do a whole other show on that. But one of the real gifts of humanity is our ability to be with each other in that impact. So you made your calls.
I made my calls, and then I did the next step, which was I reached out to my Burning Man community, the people in my community in Boulder who are burners, who have been to Burning Man, who I knew had the capacity to swarm around me in 4 or 5 hours, like from 5 p.m. to 10 p.m. at night on Saturday night. My community, Allie came and supported. Justin met me at his storage unit and supported. I went to Tanine's house and picked up some costume clothes and supported. Like, I didn't have time to place an Amazon order. I didn't have time to order anything. I literally, someone yesterday said, how is that all you have here? Like at Burning Man, you have a duffel bag and a carry-on and you were here for 10 days?
I think you were there longer than 10 days.
I don't even know how many days I was there. Feels like
sure you were there almost 2 weeks.
That's the thing is, it took us a while to get there. So we didn't end up actually getting to camp until late Monday night. So I left on Sunday at noon, but by the time we finally got to camp was like Monday at like 4 p.m. or something like that. So I was there late Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So a week and a half, nearly 2 weeks.
Right. So the community rallies around you.
Gets the people everything I need.
I gave you everything you needed. You didn't need to really buy anything. You couldn't. I got time.
I didn't have time. I couldn't. I had to just ask for support.
Yes, one of the key tenets of all of life is being able to ask for help.
Yeah.
And you've cultivated a community around you for the past, many years that you could go to and ask for help. So we rallied. We gave you everything we had that would be helpful for you. I gave you a big brown furry coat.
Thank goodness for that coat. I would have died without that coat.
Yeah. And you get to Burning Man and you've been there and it's incredible weather until it's not, until the rains come.
Yeah, it was beautiful. It was not too hot. It was not too cold. It was like, what's that story? Like the porridge is like not too hot and not too cold. It's
Goldilocks.
Just right. Yeah, it's like Goldilocks. It was like Goldilocks out there. Everyone was just like enjoying life. Really beautiful. There was not a ton of dust. The vibration was really, really, really high. It was something that I noticed. I've become a lot more energetically attuned in the last 2 years, especially since we've been in this program called Luminous. I've had a lot more awareness of the subtle energy field and then the collective energy field that's created between a group of people in any space. And so I've started to really understand that in a much deeper way. And so one thing I noticed, and I'm sure that you have experienced this in all of your years going to Burning Man, is that manifestation, like thought to form, just thought coming into form, happens faster there in that field than I've ever seen anywhere in the entire world. And the reason why is this. Because the collective consciousness of 70 to 80,000 people is in the frequency, the thoughts and the feelings that they're having and that they're looping in their thought feeling loop. Therefore, their action loop is love, joy, and abundance and gratitude. The highest 4 vibrating frequencies that there is, that is the field that's created there. And then when you pair gratitude into love, joy, and abundance, wow, I would really be so grateful for a grilled cheese right now. And then all of a sudden, homie rolls up in like a cart next to you with a freaking grilled cheese. And you're like, okay, that was creepy. I know. But then here's what I realized. The playa only answers also to specificity. If you are not specific with what you are asking for, with what you're thinking about, with what your desires are, she will fuck with you. So listen to this. I meet this guy out at the exquisite bathrooms. You know the exquisite bathrooms in the deep playa?
No. The exquisite bathrooms. I bet if they're in deep playa and you stumble upon them, you're like, wow, this is exquisite. But tell me about the exquisite bathrooms.
What are they called? Like ecologic or something?
Oh, ecozoics. I love ecozoics. Ecozoics are like literally
they blow air on your booty.
Oh my God. So just so everybody has a little context for what ecozoics are. Ecozoics are these incredible portable toilets, like a porta potty, but they create no waste. And they're clean, and apparently they blow air on your booty. And the first time I came across them was when I was with Will, and we were out at Everland. And Everland had these ecozoics. And when Everland was in the process of closing down, all I wanted to do was buy and save the ecozoics. I'm like, how can I save the ecozoics? Because they weren't making them anymore. And Will ended up putting one on his land. So he has an ecozoic at his home. But I just want everybody to have ecozoics. Because what if we could just all have these toilets where we're not wasting water?
Yeah.
They're like composting toilets that process the liquid
themselves.
with no smell, no waste. So you're right. They are the exquisite toilets.
Yeah. So I meet this guy at the exquisite toilets. We decide to go on an adventure. He was with his friends. He left his friends to go on a deep playa adventure with me. And one of the things that I was leading in our connection was just us bouncing back and forth. Like, what do we desire? And then watching that come into form. So we decided we were going to go back to my camp. And I was like, well, as we're driving in, like, what do you desire? Is there anything that you would like really, really love right now? And he's like, pizza. I want pizza. And I was like, great. Let's find some pizza. Let's have the pizza appear. So we get all the way back to my camp. No pizza has appeared yet. I am not joking you. We walk into my camp. And there is not just a piece of pizza, a whole pizza. There's a whole pizza just sitting there. But wait, there's more. He wasn't specific that he wanted warm pizza, and he wasn't specific of the type of pizza he wanted. And therefore, the pizza had meat on it, which he doesn't eat, and it was cold and hard as a cardboard. And that was the night that this lovely man learned the lesson from the playa that you get to be specific with life. When you have something you desire and you have a vision, which we've talked about in a previous episode, you get to be specific. And right now I'm looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 30 hot air balloons.
Wow.
In the sky over Reno.
Wow. Well, let's talk about that specificity for a moment, because sometimes and often we don't know until we see the contrast. So if you are not getting what you want, have gratitude for what you are getting that is showing you exactly, it's dialing you in. It's dialing you in through the gift of contrast. And so he didn't know clearly enough that he wanted hot pizza with vegetables until he saw the cold pizza with meat. Oh, I didn't just want pizza. I wanted hot pizza.
Well, he did know that what he really wanted, but he didn't take the time to get clear enough because he didn't yet have this lesson, which now he has the lesson. Like he got the lesson of, if I want something and I think I want this thing I desire to have or to create or to build or to manifest or whatever, then he gets to pause and say, is that clear enough? And this is actually something that's actually in our human design. So I don't know if you know this about yourself, but I'm what's called a specific manifester, which means that I need to write down and write in specific detail what it is that I'm manifesting. But there are people who are what are called, like, I think it's called unspecific manifestors, which means they're meant to actually paint a broader stroke and then let life fill in the colors. But on the playa, she will fuck with you.
and provide. Like there's a saying, the playa provides.
Oh my
the
gosh.
playa provides. And that's one thing I would say that the news media really didn't get at all, obviously, when the, national disaster strikes of the rains came. And a lot of people didn't get it, Chris Rock. I don't know if you know this, but
I haven't looked at a single anything for 10 days.
Yeah, so the actor Chris Rock and the DJ Diplo, hightailed it among many people because Diplo had a show and Chris Rock, it turns out, was afraid that he was going to get eaten. Apparently, who knows what's actually true. He was like really afraid, apparently, that it was going to turn into like deep cannibalism fest. And
we were literally eating lobster, crab, and shrimp on like Monday night at my camp. No one was eating, no cannibalism. We were eating like kings.
Yes, some people, I think there could be a future reality some generations from now in which eating lobster and crab is seen the same as cannibalism, possibly. But that'll be a good discussion for another day. Currently, we do not. Currently, we all eat meat and we love it, and we don't see it as cannibalism. And you all were eating like kings, and some people were walking miles.
But we were also taking people in. Like when the very first thing when the rains came is I woke up I had gone to sleep really early on Saturday night, and I woke up Friday night. I can't remember. I don't know. Time. Weird. I woke up at 5 a.m. the morning when the rains were really coming, and I knew that it was bad. And I literally said to 4 or 5 people that morning, I said, mark my words, we will be leaving here on Thursday or Friday. And I was right, spot on. We left on Friday at 7 p.m. And I knew when that morning, the very first thing I did, mind you, this is a camp that I've never camped with. I'm not on the leadership team. I was not on a single call. I literally signed up. I was the last person to get added to the roster. The last person.
Mm-hmm.
But the first thing I did when I woke up that morning is I walked this entire perimeter of our camp, and I counted how many beds we had available in all of our community spaces. And then I went into our kitchen and I started tracking our resource, and I started looking at how much resource do we have? And I started bringing that into the field. Even though I wasn't necessarily the one that was going to be making the decisions around that, I started talking to every single person that I saw and started bringing it into the awareness of the overall field. And everyone started catching on. And I think we took in 15 people who got stranded at our camp, and we fed them for 2 or 3 days. We brought them into our camp. They slept in our RVs. They slept in our community spaces until the rains cleared and they were able to get back to their camps.
So one of the things that's coming through me very clearly as I hear you say that, and as I actually receive some of the messages that I received when I was on the camping trip that I went on instead of going to our module from our integrity episode, what happens when you change your mind. One of the clear messages I got on that camping trip is it is critically important in these times for us to identify the people that we want to be able to camp with, that we could go into the woods with for a week or more and live together if we needed to, and that we need to equip ourselves so that if at any moment we needed to pick up a backpack and walk out into the woods and live for a week, we could. And this is one of the biggest losses for me about Jericho, is it's hard for me to imagine doing it without him. And you are exactly the kind of human with the skills that you have and the skills that you are cultivating. So Jericho might not be there, but you will.
This is true.
This is true. And
So,
and what you've described is exactly the kind of skills that we all need to be able to cultivate in ourselves so that if and when tragedy hits, as it will because of the climate crisis that we're in, or whatever is the reason for the climate issues that we're having, that it's only going to get worse. And there will come a time, I believe, in our lifetimes when we need to be able to do exactly what you just said, which is to, okay, there's crisis that's about to happen. We need to be able to act fast. And we need to be able to secure the perimeter, be aware of our resources, and also welcome people in. We need to be able to have enough to share.
Yeah. And you know, this is where, Allie, your entire model around enough is so important.
Mm-hmm.
And you're something that I've just like, I mean, I just love and appreciate you so much. And like, I learn so much by being around you over these past couple of years and being so close to you and us building such a deep relationship. And one of the things that I see you constantly doing is you are playing a different game when it comes to resource stewardship. You're not playing a game. You're not playing the old game, which is the hoard and scarcity and me for me, for me, for me, for me. It's just not the game that you're playing. You're playing a different game. And I think this is another episode for us to not go into today, but for us to record on another day. But I saw and I still saw the scarcity that I saw where these little pockets of scarcity were living in our field yesterday as we were packing, doing our final push to pack up. Like, for example, someone pulled out a cooler that was in our big box truck that was literally just filled with sparkling, amazing sparkling beverages filled. And he was like, wow, like, I think that I over ordered. And I, as I walked away, I thought to myself, no, you didn't over order. You were trying to keep those safe and sacred in the fridge rather than just putting the resource out.
Right. It wasn't that he over ordered. It was that he undershared.
That's right.
It's that he undershared. He was trying to save them. And he did.
That's
He
right.
saved them so that nobody had them. And
That's
then
right.
you all leave and there's a huge cooler full of sparkling water. And
We have
that's it. Yeah.
We have probably, my sense is 500 pounds of food left in in our refrigeration system. And in 5 minutes, the Nevada Food Bank opens and the homeless shelter that's nearby opens. And I have a list of places to call so that Camp Kiss can go and donate all of this food that's left. And the reason that I'm tracking that when no one else is because I've been homeless. And so, like, so much of my way of being and why I do the things that I do and why I have the heart that I have is because I've been there. And so I understand what it's like to not have a home. So the first thing I was tracking is for anyone that gets rained out of their tent and they don't have a home, how can I make sure they have a home? Because not having a physical home, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, like we talked about in our Burning Man episode, food, water, shelter, food, water, shelter, food, water, shelter, love and belonging. And we were able to resource people with food, water, shelter, and love and belonging. And because of that, we had people that just ended up merging into our camp and then stayed and helped us, supported the tear down and the strike and everything.
So when the rains came, you played, you resourced, and then it was time to go and people were leaving and you stayed.
No. It wasn't time to go.
It wasn't time for you to go.
It wasn't time for me to go. And fear drove a lot of people to leave sooner than they needed to because they allowed a frequency of fear to come into their energy field. And I was unavailable for that. I knew I was safe. I had tracked the resource everywhere. I knew that I had food, water, shelter, and I knew that I had love and belonging.
And that's all you need.
So why would I leave and leave all these people and all of this mess and all of this? Why would I walk out for my own? And I'm not saying that anyone who did that if they left, like, I don't judge their choice. Everyone is in their own process, you know. But like, I really question, like, why did you make that choice? I don't care that you made the choice. Just question why you made the choice. Where was the choice coming from? What was the energy from which you were choosing? Because the place from which we choose to do things really matters. And was your choice coming from love and coming from, you know what? I love my clients and I have a commitment that I said I would be to on Monday morning at 9 a.m. I got to get out now. Like Jules had a commitment that she had a writing session scheduled in Nashville with 3 other musicians that she had already had recording studio time, everything. And so she had to make a choice from love and creativity and her self-expression. She wasn't leaving because she was scared. She wasn't leaving because she thought she wasn't safe. But I think that there's a lot of people who left out of fear.
Yeah, it's all about the come from. It's all about the come from. So much of life is about the come from. Where are you coming from? Scarcity, lack, survival, lack of choice. Or are you coming from
Abundance,
love, joy, desire? So your desire was to stay, and you stayed?
I stayed until the very last piece of plastic was picked off our ground at 7 p.m. on Friday with the other 10 people who chose to do the same.
And now you're in Reno.
Oh, yeah. I'm in Reno. And going back to what you said a long time ago, probably at the very beginning when we talked about why it's 8 a.m. and I'm at 100%. And as soon as we get off this call, I'm going to call the food banks and I'm going to figure out where to take all this food. I'm then going to post up in the lobby and set up a sign that says, free care. Free care. And I'm going to take my care kit. It has electrolytes. It has rose tea. It has essential oils. It has rose water. It has propolis. It has breathe spray. It has, what else? It has Hoppe to help clear the dust out of people's noses. It has basically like a mini, it has cool towel, or I'm going to bring towels with me that are wet. It has everything that someone could need to take themselves from whatever level they're at and increase their life and vitality by 20 to 30% with 10 minutes with me. And I'm just going to do that.
Yeah.
I'm just going to continue because downstairs in the lobby last night, there was a bar and it says it's called Rendezvous. And I was talking to these other 2 women. We had just come out of the bathroom. And I said, hey, look what's happening at Camp Rendezvous. Because I looked across the way and it looked just like a Burning Man camp. Like everyone from Burning Man was in the bar and it looked just like a Burning Man camp. So, you know, there's a lot of people here who have just busted their asses. Like I'm talking Armageddon, end of the world. The stuff you watch in movies is what it looked like these last 4 days. And I have videos of it that I'm like, holy cow, because the reason why I'm able to go show up and serve today, right now, I'm able to serve is because I did not push myself to empty, even though I gave every single day. I pushed for these last 8 days. I at least was in complete and utter devoted service, at least 8 hours a day, probably more like 10 hours a day that I was in service. However, I took care of myself better than any person I saw anywhere on the entire playa.
And that's the balance. The more we take care of ourselves, the more we can serve. The challenge, Amanda, is that most of us don't actually know how to take care of ourselves.
Yeah, it's
and
true.
so then we can't show up in service, or if we do, we show up from a place of resent.
Yeah. And I got to see that too. I felt it actually in the field, there specifically with other women. And here's one thing that I really was tracking in my camp, that, you know, I'm committed to having conversations with the leadership team and sharing what my experience was, and really being honest about what I was tracking, because it's part of my superpower. Like a part of my superpower is because I can feel everything. I can feel all of the tensions in the field. I can feel when people are upset. And so one of the things I noticed when you talk about resentment is the women, specifically the women who were also there on the flow with me, the women who were not giving themselves as much self-care time. And when they noticed that they were empty, they just kept pushing, because they've been trained in a patriarchal masculine world, that if they don't keep pushing, that they're going to look weak. And so they keep pushing, and they keep pushing until they're empty. And that's not how they're created. That's not how our bodies are created. So then I could feel the resentment. And if I said anything, there was a couple of times where I'd like say something in the field, like, hey, so-and-so, like, where's this? And I felt the like resentment energy from a couple women, because they were empty. They weren't taking care of themselves. It wasn't about me. It was about them being frustrated that they weren't well. And like, that's on them. Like you have to, and mind you, that's on them. And I was going around every single time that the group would take a break. When the group would take a break, I would walk around with cold towels. I would massage the women's feet. I was cleaning everyone off with wet towels. And then I'd get boom back to work, whether that meant body work and energy work, or that meant picking up stuff, or that meant chopping lemon and ginger to make wellness shots. Like when they would break, I would take care. And then when we'd go back to work, I'd keep working. And then I'd keep working though, until I felt like my tank I was not serving from overflow anymore. And whenever I was not serving from overflow, then I would stop. I'm also a manifesting generator with all of my centers defined from my throat down. From human design perspective, I have access to infinite consistent communication, heart energy, emotional energy, sacral energy, root energy. I have complete and utter consistent energy in all of that area. The only place that don't have consistent access is I'm open up here. And so I spend a lot of time clearing my energy field after I'm in communication with people, because I do take on a lot of people's stuff in my mental body, in my mental field. And so, yeah, I mean, ultimately there's definitely needs to be a part 2 of Burning Man, because there's so many stories to tell.
Yes.
But the thing that I am most feeling so grateful for is like, I am grateful for those 10 other people and me, that we did something really hard together. And when you do something really hard together, there is a bond that is created that says we can do tough shit. We can do hard shit together. And it's one of the reasons why I always suggest with teams that when they're doing team building stuff, that they don't just like, that they don't just like sit around and have cocktails. Go do something together that challenges you guys together, because when you're faced with adversity and challenge and you overcome it, you realize you can fucking do anything. And as a team, that makes you so much stronger.
Yeah. And I would say make one of those things getting out in the woods together overnight. Get out in nature together overnight and see what happens. You might discover that there's some things that you need to be able to live out in the wilderness that you don't have, which now is the time to gather those things, because you're going to want them.
I just want people to hear this, because why do you feel like it's important that people have the wilderness survival capacities over the next 10, 20, 30 years?
Over the next 1, 2, 3 years. It's now, because there are fires that are causing people to need to leave their homes. There are hurricanes that are hitting in places they've never hit before. There are earthquakes that are coming on the tail of those hurricanes. There is political unrest. There's war. And while we are, on one hand, living at the most easeful time of life, when Jericho went out of contact on Monday, I began to think about World War II and the women that sent their men off during World War II. And we didn't have cell phones. They just sent them off, off they went to war. There was no way to know. They didn't get a call on Wednesday, right? It could be months before they would know. So in one respect, we're living at the most easeful time of life. And in another respect, we are less equipped than we've ever been before. We're less resilient than we've ever been before. And we have more natural disasters coming.
But we've gotten so settled in our creature comfort zone,
right.
And that is one of the things I said to our friend Megan, who sent me a beautiful message talking about how much she loves the guided podcast and how she listened to some episodes. I said, Megan, the reason why one of the reasons why I felt so resilient here at Burning Man, both this year and last year, because last year I came to Burning Man just weeks after Allie and I had spent 7 days rafting 70 miles down the Salmon River. And, and I think that because we spent those 7 days in nature, and we realized what we really need, what is it that we actually need? Because I got to see that with everyone's packing. I'm like, why did you guys use all that shit? All that shit you brought, did you use it? Did you need it? Or do you have all of it just in case, which is scarcity?
While at the same time, really needing to understand really needing to understand what we do need. And that's why I want you to get out in the woods with your friends. When I went camping with Jericho and Ariel, Gabe, my son, Noah, and his girlfriend, Gina, I was able to see very quickly, oh, wow, we are not prepared. There's some things that we don't have, like our water filtration system was broken. So I have ordered a new water filtration system. And I recognized, wow, I need to have my pack ready to go at all times with my camp pad, with my sleeping bag, with my tent. And all of us can do that. This is something that all of us can do. So instead of focusing on, should I be investing in the stock market? Should I be investing in crypto? After you've invested in what you would need to be able to pick up your pack and walk out into the woods and stay for a week or 2 weeks if you needed to. And by the way, that doesn't just include stuff. It includes making the investment in cultivating your community, the people that you would go out into the woods with. Because ultimately, in some ways, that's even the most important thing. The very first thing that happened when we got there is Jericho made a fire. And God, I'm going to miss him.
That happened for me too. Is that immediately when the rain started and I got stuck at my camp, I was loving the people that I was with, but everyone was, outside of Jules and Captain Carl. We all know Captain Carl. Outside of those, and Adam and Burkay, who I was with, no one else was they're not yet my people. They're amazing humans, but the depth of intimacy that I have with people like Jessica Benstock and with Rachel Bell, my dear sisters, I could not get to them. And they were literally only I don't know, less than a half mile away from me. And literally the mud was so thick that if you would walk in it in boots, it sticks to your shoes. And pretty soon your shoes weigh like 25 pounds and you can barely lift up your legs.
Wow.
When I say this was like some end of the world shit, that's what it felt like. And
Yeah.
the thing about it is like, I realized, I want to be living in close proximity to the people that I really, really, really want to do life with. And I've known that, hence why I've begun my investment into land projects.
Yeah.
And it became even more clear that it's not just investing into some land project because the vision is cool. It's about actually saying who are the 12 humans that I want to be doing life with.
Oh, Amanda, I want to be doing life with you. So we need to figure that out. We need to figure that out pretty quickly. I feel clear about that. And for now, you're going to make your way back from Burning Man from Reno. And I'm going to make my way to Iceland with my family. And we will reconvene here in Boulder.
Yeah.
And
And I'm going to make my way to Tulum for a bachelorette party. And then we'll reconvene after the bachelorette party and after Iceland.
Yeah. And I want to figure out, where are we going to live on land? How are we going to do it together? Where are we going to do it? It's all happening. Okay. I trust. It's all happening. It's all happening. Life knows and life has our back.
That's right.
I love you so much.
I love you too so much.
I'll see you on the other side.
I'm going to go take care of people in the lobby.
Yeah. I've watched you throughout this whole podcast taking care of yourself so that you can do just that. I love that so much. I love you so much. I love you so much. Okay.
Bye, guys. Thanks for listening.
See you next time.
If you enjoy the Guided podcast, please rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. And be sure to come back next week. Until then, this is Allie Katz and
Amanda Goolsby.
And remember, life knows.